it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
And it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket.
Everybody, to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are joined today by our wonderful panel. And we'd like to thank everybody for watching us today. Either you're watching us on our YouTube channel at Empower Network. Thank you very much. If you're watching us on our Roku channel, thank you very much. Please join, like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Anytime we post anything, click that bell so that you can also get up-to-date notifications about anything that we post onto the channel. And without further ado, let's say hello to our panel. We have Mr. Brad Coughlin. How you doing, sir?
Sir, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Always. Yes, sir. We got Mr. CJ Jones. How you doing, sir?
Hey, guys. Thank y'all for having me. Glad to be here.
All right. And we got Mr. Michael Berry. How you doing? Michael. Okay. And we have Miss Lori Parker. How you doing, love?
Doing great. I am she.
You know, when I have kids and things rub off on them, it's very funny to watch and see. But when you have a spouse and that happens, it's just a little scary. And last but not least, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the former pimp, former player, Mr. Jermaine Parker. How you doing, sir?
Excuse me for a second.
Sir,
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. I'm ready for this topic today. I'm ready to get into it.
Bruh, everybody ready for this one.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. That's why everybody was on time today. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna get into that on the back half.
Well, that's what happens when we get an email too, you know.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. There you go. So, how was everybody's Memorial Day? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's a little touching for me, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it was some much needed time out for me for sure, and was able to get out and see some family and actually have a nice smoked hamburger thanks to Mr. Jermaine Parker. Thank you, sir. That was very nice.
Anytime, man. Made with love in my 2 hands.
There you go. Sit around the table, smoke some cigars. So that was always fun. So definitely enjoyed that time. But how's everybody doing now with COVID? With masks being off and everything else? Are things starting to feel like they're back to normal where you are?
We still like 50-50 where I'm at. It all depends on where you go.
I'm sorry. Mike, you might be on mute.
You're muted, yeah.
Put the cursor over the screen and then click on your box. Okay, now
It's on the bottom left.
Now unmute. Yeah. Now
Okay, there you
unmute
go.
yourself. There you go.
Oh no, I think it's deeper than that. We still can't hear him.
No, he's
Bring
muted.
your volume up.
I clicked ask to unmute. Hover over your picture in the box and the word mute will pop up, and then just click on it.
He's gonna go back out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We'll come right back to you. All
Things
right.
haven't changed for me, man. I'm you know, things are opening up, but I'm still masking up. So
Still masking up?
I don't know what
Yeah.
that point is going to be where I feel comfortable taking off the mask, but I'm still wearing the mask.
I'm out here raw dog in the world, just nose up and everything. I don't have my 2 shots. 2 shots.
Two shots.
Yo, and so, hey, look, I'm a trust science, right? So
Right.
science says that I should be good, not only protect myself but protecting others. So I'm good. I'm back to it.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
it's funny, and I'm doing the same thing, but a lot of places where I'm seeing that they have a sign up that says, if you're vaccinated, masks are optional. If you're not, please, wear a mask. I'm still seeing a lot of people wearing their mask. And I don't know if that's because they're comfortable with the mask on, even though they've been vaccinated, or that's a sign of them saying, I'm not vaccinated, I'm trying to protect other people.
It is two messages. Yeah. It is two messages.
It's funny. I still see a lot of people down here with masks on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny after seeing so many people kicking and screaming about their liberties, and I'm sure those people are still out there, their liberties and their rights, and having mask burning events and all that kind of stuff, to really see a lot of people still taking the mask very, very seriously. And that's respectable either way.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to wear your mask, even though you've been vaccinated, that's certainly okay. If you're wearing a mask because you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated, for one, because the mask helps mitigate it, but it is not 100% all the time. Anything can happen. All you have to do is come in contact with a surface that may have it on it, accidentally rub your eye. There's so many things that could go wrong. The best thing that's going to keep you safe is just going ahead and getting those shots in the arm. Y'all seeing this where Ohio's doing $1 million lotteries for people that are getting vaxxed up, and I think now the second person has won $1 million. One girl got a free 4-year scholarship ride to college.
It was also a boy as well. He got free ride to college.
They're pulling out all the stops. They're giving out Xboxes. Now Biden is trying to get us up to 70% vaccinated by July the 4th. Right now we're at about 60,
I think 60.
Yeah. So it doesn't really have a long way to go. We could average about 500,000 vaccinations a week between now and the 4th of July, and we would hit that number. The reason they're really trying to get up to 70 is because that's when we start looking at herd immunity, where you're really dampening out the effects of COVID-19, pretty much guaranteeing that the summer is going to be very, very low. We're at our 7-week average is now down to 16,000 cases a week. We had been running at one point over 50,000.
Double that, double, almost triple.
So it's going down. There are some worries that in the fall that it's going to try to come roaring back. What I really think was going to come back in the fall now with masks being off is more so the flu, but people are going to think it's COVID.
Yeah,
because a lot of the symptoms are the same. So that's probably going to be more an issue. Another lingering effect that I've been seeing, and I want to see, Brad, if you're seeing the same thing, but I don't think I've ever in my life seen so many now hiring signs up in the area. I mean, everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I went to Quick Trip, which is a big convenience store chain down here, kind of like Sheetz or Wawa, something like that. And they had on they actually had on their door on-spot interviews. I went to Hardee's the other day, and it had an app where you hit the QSR code and you can schedule an interview and have it within an hour. A lot of these businesses are hurting. That particular Hardee's, they normally open at 5 a.m. They had abbreviated schedule where they open up at 7. They normally close at 11. They were closing at 9. A lot of fast food places down here are closing at 9 o'clock because they just don't have enough staff. And when you go to them, even right now, the word fast food is almost laughable because it can take 15 to 20 minutes to get your order. So you go by these restaurants and the lines are just around the corner. It's ridiculous.
It's funny you brought that up. I went to Wendy's on Monday, on actual Memorial Day, and I got my son Wendy's, and right in all the windows, it's hiring $14.75 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Pull around to the window. I say to the lady, or she didn't really know much, but when I went to the next window, I asked the guy, I said, well, how are you guys doing in terms of hiring? Are y'all still looking for people? He's like, man, we're full. Like, we're full. We are full. Well, they're paying $15 an hour. So, you're going to get people when you're paying that kind of a rate in the company. So it's not bad. I mean, it's not.
So it's going back to balancing that checkbook then.
Brad, you kind of said, I'm sorry, CJ, go ahead.
No, I was just saying to me, now it goes back to the checkbook now. So now that you are paying more, that's like paying for two people. So now you got less people working, but they are making that money. So it's still like that whole balance game.
Well, I think that COVID, in a lot of ways, did a favor of shining the light on business practices.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What we're seeing now is, I think up to 36 states are saying, the reason that there's all these now hiring signs is because these folks are making more on unemployment than they are if they go to work. Well, the extra unemployment is $300 a week. Okay. Here's the thing. If you take what people are getting on unemployment and divide it out, it's coming out to around $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the problem. If people are making more on unemployment than they are at your job, the issue isn't that they're lazy. The issue isn't that they would rather sit on their ass and just collect money. Republicans, if you're listening, Candace Owens, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingram, if you're listening, I know you are. The issue isn't that. The issue is these companies ain't paying their people. The issue is they haven't been paying their people. The issue is that the federal minimum wage is still stuck at $7.25 a freaking hour, has not moved over 12 years off of that. With the current rate of inflation and everything else, a comparable minimum wage to that $7.25 over these last couple of years has ballooned to $22 an hour as a livable wage. The fact that we're trying to fight for 15 is laughable, because even paying people $15 an hour isn't a livable wage. It's just better than this $7.25.
Exactly.
But businesses are claiming that they can't afford to do it. I'm sorry. I think Jamie Dimon can afford to do it. I sincerely think that Bezos can do it, and he is doing it. He got shamed to do it. I think Walmart, who is one of the largest, or if not the largest employer in the United States, is also the largest employer when it comes to their employees who have to be on Medicare and Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in there? Because I think you brought up a really, really good point. And the good point is this, is that a lot of these companies, where we're talking about how do they pay and stuff like that, they pass the payment on to U.S. citizens by making these people, their employees, utilize these social benefits and stuff. And so that's the problem, is that America is okay and has been for a long time. And, I know y'all out there doing your independent research and stuff, so you can do it for this too. But for a very long time, it's been okay to help rich people get their stuff, and support them, because they make jobs and stuff. And we don't support them. Where the jobs going to come from? They'll come from you, my brothers and sisters. You'll make the jobs and stuff. But that may be a whole nother show. But for just this particular thing, when you're seeing the increase of wages and stuff, like say, it's just a living wage. People have just understood it's not worth. There gets to be a point. It's not worth my time. When people say it's not worth my time to work for $8 an hour, because what does that get me? You know, and so if you've worked, and the other thing about unemployment benefits is that you pay into unemployment. So it's not a de facto free benefit. It's something that my employer has unemployment insurance. I paid into that myself. It's not a free benefit. I'm getting what I deserve. And the mentality in this country and this will lead into our later conversation, this mentality for it's okay to help out government, it's okay to help out corporations, but individuals and their needs and stuff don't mean as much, because who are they? It's 1, 2, 3, or it's 300, or it's just 1,000. But in the big picture thing, it's not important. And real quick, Dan Price, who's the CEO who I follow on Twitter, he's the guy that cut his CEO pay so his employees could have a minimum wage of $75K a year. They offer great bonuses and stuff. Yeah, actually, so that's the thing, because we always talk about the $15 an hour and not the $30 million that the CEO got. And so that's why it's so crazy to me that people are looking at their neighbors and stuff and going, how dare you want to live? But it's okay, because that guy, he should be entitled to millions and millions of dollars working off getting money off your back and stuff, because that's the way it is. Because you slaves, sorry, later on in the conversation, but you people don't deserve to be recognized as individuals and your needs and stuff, but corporations and government and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Their wants and needs.
Yeah. And you know, Jermaine, that's exactly why I started out with this actual thing, because of the way it kind of filters into a lot of the other stuff we're talking about, of this mindset of, you know, just get your lazy asses back to work kind of thing, and not addressing the bigger elephant in the room is that people are tired. They're fed up of putting in 40 hours a week, not making enough off of that job. Oh, I got to go to my other job.
Right.
You know, just to sit there and have a pot to piss in. And people sit there and demonize you for wanting more and wanting better. But these businesses have enjoyed profit gains and everything else all these years, while the federal minimum wage was $7.25 an hour. Now, I understand certain states have stepped up somewhat and raised their minimum wages over that $7.25 an hour. But a lot of them, and then when we start talking about service workers, when we talk about the federal minimum wage for a tip restaurant employee has been $2.13 for almost as long as I've been alive.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Exactly.
$2.13. I remember being in high school and it was that.
Yes.
Yes.
And it ain't moved.
Nope.
That's because no one has challenged the status quo.
Well, they're trying it, but the problem is that the biggest voices in the rooms are the ones that put money into people's campaign funds. This is who they listen to. They listen to the CVB. The CVB sits there and sends their lobbyists. They sit there and they listen to tech. They listen to pharma. They listen to all the industry executives say, no, we need low pay workers to do a lot of these jobs. Even though we're going to walk away with all these bonuses, these $1 million bonuses and things of that nature, these companies have more, they just don't want to share it. Right. So then when we start talking about, they don't want to share it with your wages, they don't want to share it when it comes to paying their fair share of taxes, they don't want to share it when it comes to saying, hey, you Walmart, you use the roads to get your goods. Hey, Amazon, you use the roads to get your goods. You use our ports, you use our airports, you use all of our infrastructure, and you don't want to contribute anything to it. How dare you? How dare you? So, yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on that because, yeah, I'm seeing all of this. And what's going to really happen is that there are about 8 million jobs available right now. And I've talked to a lot of people that are like, Brian, we've been advertising for the longest for jobs, and nobody's coming up to them. So I'm like, and as if you're an employer right now and you've got employees that are coming into work every single day, this is some advice I gave somebody earlier this morning. You better say thank you, and you better do a whole lot of stuff for them people, because Don't take them for granted. Don't take them for granted, because as these other businesses are opening up, all they got to do is start offering just $1 or $2 more, and they gone.
Yes, sir.
So
they've been offering a lot of employers have been offering a lot of incentives,
sign-on
bonuses. They've also, but it's also, I was reading an article in the Washington Post talking about that some of the service workers in the restaurant industry, a lot of them, because after the pandemic happened, they chose not to go back because they were just fed up that I'm also dealing with a safety issue earlier in the pandemic for people were able to catch it. So why am I going to sit there and serve you for $2.13 an hour before tips, and for me to sit there and go back? So a lot of them are either waiting out. They've also changed industries, or tried to find another job that's going to be able to pay them, even though the $15 is still below a livable wage. Better, but I think in this country we need to have a really serious conversation about sharing, that these corporations need to share, and they need to sit here and to pay, because they have to be able to, if you're going to get workers or get people to do it, you have to be able to, as you recruit, you have to be able to attract workers. And telling me that you're giving me $14.50 an hour is not going to sit there and cut the bills, and also depending on where that person is living. Because their cost of living could be, in being in New York, $14.50 an hour don't pay nothing.
No, not
nothing.
At all.
You are living in the hood.
Right.
Yeah. And still with a roommate.
Right. Yeah.
Several roommates.
Also, guys, if I can just throw my little piece in here real quick. All of this is reminding me of the very last company that I used to work for. I used to install appliances for Queen City. Now, this is supposed to be like a high-end appliance store, which means that all of your built-in like refrigerators, ranges, over-the-counter, over-the-range ovens, different things like that. I got that skill to put it inside your house and make it look really professional. All that aside, it's about also how you treat people. Because Mr. Player had him and his brother has the Carolina split. It's either you go to his establishment or you go to his brother's. Now, the thing about being one of his drivers/installers was, it wasn't so much of the hourly rate that we were being paid, but it was also whenever he would have this matrix for his salesmen to reach per every, I think it was quarterly. And then bouncing off of what you said, Brian, we would hit a certain goal in our sales and there would be bonuses. So collectively, we would try to, establish these meetings with him and say, hey, listen, besides you just giving us a $25 gift certificate to go to Applebee's, or wait till Christmas and then give us a ham or a turkey of our choice, put that into the money, or give us benefits that we can actually use. Now, the pay was arguable. It all depends on, in my opinion, it all depends on what you did. He treated his installers a lot better than just the regular delivery guys. So my thing was this: as an installer, okay, he was paying me decently, but now let's talk about the benefits that he had. No benefits, no health benefits, no dental, no nothing. If you did it, you did it on your own, and it was coming out of your pocket. It was an easy walk away for me. And I actually loved what I did. I absolutely loved it. So bouncing off of what Lori was saying, it's not only about the money, but it can, or it could be, an issue of benefits. Mm-hmm. So if my benefits are equaling out what you pay me, or it would equal up to the amount of what these multi-million-dollar corporations are crying about, and as long as you're treating me right, then you have an employee forever. So it was an easy walk away for me. I didn't have to think about it twice. So I am one of those ones that we're talking about here.
There you go. There you go. And you know, it's funny to me how, you know, we can't get any kind of bipartisanship in Washington, D.C., but we can get one thing of bipartisan through. How is it that there's a hard time with giving people that really need the money, but it's okay subsidizing a racist government in Israel for another $1 billion that they need to build their Iron Dome back? Ooh.
Well, because we don't really have a separation of church and state as much as that we talk about in this country. Christianity bends the rules in this country and stuff. And so there might be some other industry that kind of benefits from Christian views and stuff like that. But this country believes in Jesus, and Jesus wants you to take care of Israel. Because that's just, I mean, really, that's the basis of argument. Because there's no strict.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a beautiful way of looking at it. No, I agree
exactly
with you.
Right.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head.
Well, because there's no economic reason, there's no strategic reason.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's no benefit of all the countries out there in the world. Why Israel? Why Israel?
Because it's in the Bible.
Because it's in the Bible, and because our Christian beliefs tell us that, you know, we're crusading and we should be doing that kind of stuff. But there's no real, because I've asked this question before, and this had, and you know, and so without the specter of I'm being anti-Semitic, I'm not. The curious question is, why Israel? And I've asked that question, and there's no other link other than Christianity to
right.
it.
And if you ask the question, they can't really give you an answer other than that's just been one of our partners from the beginning of time, and yada 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 yada. And I hear that, but they just say, hey, yo, can y'all write us a check for $1 billion? And that's okay. But when Biden asked for $1 trillion in infrastructure, it's got to be able to pay for itself, and maybe we can use some unused COVID funds. And now all of a sudden they looking under the pillow cushions for some damn money. But Israel needs some money to sit there and shoot rockets out of the sky.
And plus, you can't afford. They can't afford to give credit to the Democrats. Remember, so if that was Trump doing that, then that money would have flew out, because it makes the Republicans look good.
But you got Democrats. You got Democrats that support it too. That's
right? No. What I'm saying, but see, haven't we noticed this about the political side of this? If it's going to make the Democrats look bad, you're going to have Mr.
McConnell.
Yeah, there you go. Turtle. He'll sit on it, not because it's not a good idea, not because it won't benefit the bipartisan, but just simply because it's the Democrat, and I don't want for them to get the verbal acknowledgement of it. Stupid. Well, but he's willing to do that. He's willing to hurt himself and his own people.
They gotta, being anti-Semitic is when you're disparaging Jews.
Right.
Saying the truth about their government is not anti-Semitic. And you can disparage the government without disparaging the people, and you're not being anti-Semitic. Problem is that people conflate the two together. And if anytime you sit there and you say anything that sounds negative against Israel, you're being anti-Semitic.
Yeah, they do it, and they do it on purpose in order to blanket the same way that they say that we like to race bait, and they say, "Well, no, you're race bait," and then you just say we're being racist when we say things and stuff. It's really that kind of logic, or what's really going on for them is that, and like I say, I've been to Israel. Israel is a beautiful country with some beautiful people in it. One of my top 3 places in the world for beautiful women.
Yeah, the women fine.
Oh God, bro.
And so I mean, and the culture is rich, and everything is rich, and this and this and this and this and this. I got no qualms there. What I do have qualms is why they're launching missiles and killing children, where they're clearly committing war crimes by attacking hospitals and citizens and newspapers, and just being unrelenting. And it's just, and why the U.S. hasn't spoken up about those things. Now, there is to consider that the U.S. is in deep, dirty stuff with Israel and stuff, because
Always.
Israel's outside of the UN and UN control, and then Israel hasn't signed a lot of agreements with the rest of the world and stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all of it. It's an entire show if you just want to talk about Israel.
Yeah. And we will.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to draw, and you're right, but I just wanted to kind of draw that thing of, damn, they sitting here, people making $7, $8 an hour, they sitting on their ass, they lazy, they this and that and the other, for getting funds that you alleviated to earlier, they paid into.
Right.
But we're freely giving Israel $1 billion for something they didn't pay into, and it's to help them murder people.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy when you look at it that way, and especially, again, we fund the things that we want to fund. I think I said it last week. No one's ever really done a depth study of where the money for war comes from. It just kind of shows up, right?
Right.
And it's a lot of money. But no one ever goes in depth and says, "Hey, man, where exactly did that come from?" You know what I mean? Where did that money come from?
Jermaine, you do know the answer, sir. You do know, and like you said, it would take a whole show, and they'll probably shut up, and they'll probably shut this show down after we talk about it.
Hey, look, let me state in this show, ain't nothing wrong with my brakes. I don't use drugs.
I know that's right, and I love myself. So you can, come my way if you want to.
I don't
come my way if you want to.
I don't hang around with animals. I don't walk on the edges of buildings. I don't hang out on the 40th floor or nothing.
I don't suffer from narcolepsy. None of that.
Narcolepsy, none of that stuff. All my guns are under lock and key.
Hey, there he is.
Hey.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I know y'all been waiting for this, so I did want to at least go ahead and get into this too. This past week marked 100 years since the unbelievable massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's not that unbelievable.
Well, it's let me put it to you like this: it's unbelievable, Jermaine. No, it's not. That's not unbelievable either. It's sad.
No. It's sad. There you go.
That I went through all of my younger years, elementary school, middle school, high school, and never heard about the Greenwood District.
Exactly.
35 blocks of a neighborhood being leveled by an angry, jealous bunch of white folks that just decided to try to wipe a whole neighborhood of well-to-do Black folks off the face of this earth. Even in my college years, still never heard it. Matter of fact, the first time I even heard about Black Wall Street, my good brother, I believe he was going to school in Oklahoma. Was that about a 3-month schooling that you had to do, Jermaine?
It was in Altus, Oklahoma, so time's actually slower there, so it seemed like 6.
But it was 3, right?
But it was 3.
Okay. And I remember you telling me that you drove down to Tulsa and Greenwood, and you were talking about Black Wall Street, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So why don't you share with us first, Jermaine, because you actually went there, about what that was like and what you saw when you went to Tulsa.
You know what? So thank you. And so I did. And so I'm like you, and I'm probably like most people who didn't grow up with a Black Panther in the house that had this abundance of information and stuff. No, seriously, if you just grew up in the school system, whatever school, insert school system, Black massacres are not the topic that came up every February. And so I'm like a lot of people, I didn't hear about it until I was in my 30s. Hear about this kind of stuff. And it's funny because, and I'll point out to a movie called Rosewood, which is actually about another Black massacre.
Absolutely.
Yes, in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida. And I'll get to some other ones too. But so what happened? So I had an opportunity. I was in Altus, Oklahoma, doing some training, and towards the end of my training, I said the whole time I was there, I was going to go to Tulsa. Tulsa was like a 5-hour drive and stuff. So one weekend, I grabbed my friend out in Houston, and we road tripped out to Tulsa and stuff. And let me tell you, the first thing when I got to Greenwood, is that there was a white man there with his dog, and he brought him out there to walk the grounds and piss and shit out there. Now, there's no residential around there, so he drove that dog over there just for the purpose of letting that dog shit over there in Tulsa and in Greenwood. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't make that up. You can ask Al. We were there. We watched it and we're sitting there watching this. And normally you would just say, that's just a dude out with his dog, right? But there's nobody on that side of town. He had to drive that dog over there to do his business. And so when I tell you that when we speak about Tulsa and other places and stuff, and there's 3 living members who lived through that atrocity and stuff, and were in Congress recently here asking for reparations and stuff like that, which he still hadn't gotten. The first thing I did when I got there was saw this older white dude disrespecting the place. There's not really a lot in terms of anything there. There's one original building church that's still there. They have a center there they built. And if you guys were to go on my Instagram page and look back to 2019, I got some pictures from when I was there and stuff. And so my main event podcast, Instagram, you can find it there. But anyway, so we walked around, and man, it's hard, especially when they have a monument to the over 200 businesses that were destroyed, that were there. And so the thing about that too is that they sat there and they drove through segregation, drove those black people to the edge of Tulsa. And those black people said, you know what, this ain't the first time that we've had to do something. So they made their own community. And what really pissed people off and had them on edge was that community was doing better than the white community.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole thing, if you hadn't heard the story, and so I would tell you this, LeBron James and some other guys came up and they just did a documentary about Tulsa. Russell Westbrook produced a documentary about the massacre and stuff. There's plenty of stuff out there. The first time a lot of people heard about this was the HBO special Watchmen that opened up on the Tulsa massacre. And that was the first time that they had heard anything about it and stuff. And so there's some really, don't just take my word for it, there's some really good documentaries out there, do your own research and stuff. But the synopsis is that there was a young white lady and a young black man in the elevator together. She screamed from side, he stepped on her foot. The paper next day alleged rape. I don't know how he raped her in the elevator and just ran away. But they went and got that young boy, and they were going to string him up. And so the black community was like, nah, they came and got him. It's got to be this whole thing. The white community enraged because this rapist got away, decided that they were going to kill. And they only reported like 20 people. But the thing about Tulsa that is so amazing is that the National Guard was actually involved in bombing part of Tulsa. Private airplanes used to bomb that community. They demolished that community. If you go there today, like we went there and we're like, oh, there's going to be like some the community's gone. And the monuments are small compared to the 35 blocks that were destroyed.
Oh, burned and forgotten.
So they never went back and rebuilt any of it.
Oh no, white people did.
No.
Yes, yeah. They did two things. They built a highway through it so the community would never come back together, because it was literally and people had the saying the wrong side of the tracks and stuff. Generally speaking, historically growing up and stuff, railroad tracks actually did separate communities.
Yeah.
And so when you go to Tulsa, you can see that there are railroad tracks there, and so you know what side of the tracks. You can tell what side of the tracks, but they actually went in there and they gentrified a lot of the area because, again, one of the big things that we talk about was the generational wealth that was lost through those businesses and stuff. And we, as we get into our previous conversation, talking about individuals and, you got to work hard, people being lazy and stuff. Generational wealth is one of those things that we talk about now a whole lot. And Tulsa was one of those examples of where there was lost generational wealth. And that's the tabulation, the tab that we're running, saying, hey, these people need to be taken care of, because there was a hotel there. I think it's JD, I forget his last name, but he owned the hotel. It's like $125,000. The magic compound interest is that hotel should be over worth $100 million now. And it survived all the way to the day. And it could have been franchised and all kinds of different things. We'll never know, because they burnt it down and killed the people that were in it. So we'll never know, right? So we can only take a guess at what the approximate today's value of that stuff would be.
Wow. Had anybody else heard about this story growing up in school?
No, not in school.
I did in school.
No, I was a grown man.
I heard about it in high school, 1985, and it was it's funny how it happened.
Is that when Philly got bombed? Is that how you heard about it?
Right. It was 1985. My Black Studies professor was the first black historian in New York State, Dr. Larry Sproul. So when MOVE happened, I was getting ready to graduate, but we had a close relationship with all of his students. And he told us, he's like, this is not the first time that bombs have been dropped on Black neighborhoods or Black people inside the United States. So he went on to tell the story of that. And then, of course, that leads you to, at the time, we couldn't Google it. We had to go look up the story and actually open up some pages and look and read about it, about what happened. So that was the first I had heard of it, was the result of trying to figure out what was going on with the MOVE organization, what we were being told and what happened. And then juxtapose that with what happened, almost 100 years prior to that. So, I had heard of it. So I haven't seen any of the documentaries. I know there were plenty of them. I recorded the History Channel's documentary, and probably this weekend we'll all sit down together here in this house and we'll watch it and kind of talk about it, because we obviously always want our kids to know what the hubbub is about and kind of process it, help them process through it, answer questions or whatever. But it's huge and it's ridiculous.
Mike, when did you hear about it?
Me? Okay, so back in the 80s, I was really into Black history and everything, so I actually did my own research and learned about it back then, around the same time, 85, 86 or so. But in that research, you find other things also, like a lot of people now know about the Tulsa massacre, but 2 years before that, they had the Red Summer of 1919.
That's it.
Yes.
That's the one.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. That's correct.
Across the country and everything.
Yep.
There were race riots all over the place. One of the worst was in Elaine, Arkansas, where some Black sharecroppers basically formed their own union, and the white sharecroppers felt threatened by that. The result of that was about 200 Black people killed over the course of like 3 days.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, I am getting a little emotional. The death toll is still unknown to this day, y'all. They don't know whether it was 39 or 300 to this day. And even in all of our technology that we have today, DNA, genealogy, everything, you got rid of just that many Black people. And then the governor, senator, and another person, I think it went all the way up to the big dogs of the House, said that pretty much it wasn't going to be investigated because those Black people pretty much brought it on themselves. In other words, what they did to us was turned back on us as a people and said that, well, we deserve to get slaughtered like that.
Well, actually, what also happened in Arkansas was they did hold the trial, and they convicted, about 80 Black people.
Yeah, they like I said, they put it back on us. They call us rioters. They call us violence and everything else. That's why the policeman was pooling everybody towards the football field and the baseball fields and different things like that. And that's also why, and then they labeled everybody. They labeled everybody. Like how you would in a concentration camp, like how they did the Jews in the Holocaust. It was the same thing, but you won't hear about it, you won't read about it, but it's right there. And it's sent chill.
You'll read about it, but you'll read about it. You'll read about it with a slant. The newspaper,
Yes.
Tulsa, reported 2 whites killed in race riot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The official newspaper
Right.
headline:
And,
2
Yeah,
whites
that was the
killed
headline.
in race riot.
Exactly.
You know?
And you know, it's fun. So when you think about all of that and you think about these things, and I know, Jermaine, you're going to bring up some other incidences where this has happened, but you think about all this stuff and you go, you know, trying to whitewash history so that your kids grow up knowingly missing out on key things that happen in history. That sounds more like something that you would expect from North Korea.
you would expect that because that's the picture that we as America like to paint. We're the best thing popping. We're perfect. We're Jesus loving, traditional family having. We are here to educate and love on the world and God bless America and no place else type mentality.
Well, they try to dilute it because they can't escape the fact that slavery existed. So what they just try to do is water it down and say, well, that was something that happened a long time ago.
Right.
We're so much
We're
further
past
than
that
now.
now.
See, we had a black president, you know, and they just try to keep on moving without acknowledging the atrocities, without acknowledging that there's a lot of stuff that they swept under the rug, that they let their media bias cover up and put the slants on it as they would. But for me to sit there, the first time like I said, I heard about it, my brother was telling me about going down to Tulsa, and I'm going, wait. What are you talking about? And, or like you said, some people had to watch Watchmen and kind of see what that was going on. But still, if you watched it and you didn't have any kind of backstory into it, you would think it was just a story, you know, part of anything else you see on TV. Until you realize, oh shit, this is something that really happened.
Yeah.
And they made it.
Yeah.
And if you watch Watchmen, it was kind of bad, you know, when they did it on that TV screen. But for a lot of people without the backstory, they may just think, oh, this is just a cinematic, you know, representation of something that didn't really happen. Oh no, this is what really happened.
Yeah.
So you hit it on the head, directly on the head. And what I mean by that is that the reason that we don't tell these stories or have not been taught these stories is about context. Right. So contextually, if you take these stories out and then you have angry black people, they have nothing to be angry about. Contextually, if you dull down slavery to being some Nathaniels that needed help, look at the NFL that just lost $100 billion lawsuit because when they were doing the studies for their brain injury and stuff, they started out with the theory that black people had diminished intellectual abilities anyway.
Oh God!
So
yeah, you heard that too.
So they didn't assume they assumed that white players were up here, and so if they had any kind of degradation down here, then they qualified. But since black players are already down here, they couldn't qualify the same as white players.
Because we can take more. We can take more punishment.
No. Because they were saying
it was just dumber.
Right.
Our mental capacity was different.
Yeah.
Your mental capacity was already here. So when they tested the players, and they're like, well, if you were a white dude and you had naturally high IQ, then sure, this would be a diminishment. But since you're already dumb, this is where you started. So we don't really see how you could have suffered an injury. And so, but that's been so without context, a lot of things are out of place. It's like dating somebody and they're talking about their ex and they're leaving out context, like they cheated on them or, you know, they stole money from them or they did this and this. Like, why does this person hate you so much? And they kind of paint the other person out to be crazed and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, that's how America paints out black people. Like, yeah, we had some bad blood, but they overplaying that, and it was years and years and years and years ago. But like Brad said, in 1985, the Philadelphia police dropped a bomb.
Yes, in that Philadelphia neighborhood.
On the community.
Killed children. Yeah.
Killed children. Left hundreds of people homeless who had nothing to do
with it.
Nothing to do with it, but it was a black neighborhood, so you know. And so the same thing, you think about the massacres and stuff, and I mean, honestly, there's a list. If you went to like, and I would say Instagram because I look there and you just hashtag Black Massacres, there'll be a map that comes up. And of course, Tulsa's in 1921. I keep referring to Wilmington in 1898. Really researched that one. That was actually so we talk about history repeat itself. And in that one, that's where they elected black folks to the government and stuff, and white people had a fit. And so they had their own insurrection where they went to the Capitol. They murdered black people and put white people in office who had not been duly elected because they didn't like who was duly elected because it was rigged. If that, this ain't the first big lie. This is the one that didn't actually change anything, but it has happened before. I talk about Rosewood, that was 1923. There's Mississippi, there's St. Louis, there's Washington in 1919. Colfax, St. Bernard Parish, New Orleans.
It was New York City.
New York City, 1863. And so when you take all this stuff into context, and we say things like, why don't black people trust police? Because in a lot of these instances, guess who's leading the charge and stuff? It was National Guards. It was policemen. It was authorized posses, Klansmen in the 1900s and 1920s doing all these.
Deputized.
Being deputized.
Yeah, I just say, they were,
going out to do this stuff. And so contextually, when we look at stuff like George Floyd and why the community was at a breaking point, and when white people go, well, they're just upset and there's no reason for that and stuff, and go, no, there's a history. So I get on here every week and I go, I'm not surprised. Whatever the topic, I'm not surprised. And this is really the basis of where I'm not surprised, because I've seen this violence, I've seen this fear, and a lot of it is just fear. Fear of being overtaken, fear of being obsolete, fear of having to actually be fighting on equal ground. One of the worst things we say about the black community today is that black people need financial literacy, and that's what would make them better. White people didn't have financial literacy; they just took shit. It wasn't literacy that got them places. When they got jealous of Greenwood, they literally went to people's houses, took their shit, and walked around with it the next day.
Yeah.
Women's diamonds and furs and stuff that they had taken from their houses and stuff, because they didn't just burn the houses down, they looted them.
Right.
They took their money, they took their wealth, they took their land, and they took their lives. And so when we say as a community, or when I come on the show and I say, hey, nah, not surprised, it's because history, American history, and it's like I say, we sweep this stuff under the rug and then we trip it over the carpet because there's so many lumps out there. And then people wonder why we tripping.
Well,
we tripping because we tripping because you keep sweeping stuff under the rug.
Exactly. And it's so many skeletons in this graveyard that we call America. That's what it is. And then they worried about the zombie apocalypse. Yeah, I guess it does proverbially exist. Because these things are going to come back to haunt you. And that's what it really is. It's a fear of reciprocity. But not everybody will necessarily retaliate in violence. Some of us will. But then some of us knows how to just go back and get back what the devil stole from us. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to get a little spiritual on y'all. But we got that right to go back and claim what was literally stole and taken from us. And this is why we have these discussions. This is why we are supposed to be talking with our children, Brad. Is because the best way not to repeat your mistakes is to be reminded of it. to educate yourself of it and to keep it in memory, not for the hostility part, not to keep you angry, but to keep you, or to embrace the education of it and be able to see those things coming ahead of time and know how to fight against it. Like my judge said, fight the good trouble, get in the good trouble, fight the good fight.
Mm-hmm. Brad, what were you thinking?
No, I was just going to say how it's all connected. Everything is connected. We like to break things and separate things and try to look at them situationally, but it's all connected. So when Jermaine was talking about their cognitive level is lower, so we're gonna rank their injuries different. That's institutional racism. You're talking about an educational system which educated those black men who played football. That's institutional racism. The levels of the educational systems, all of that is tied in. All of it goes back 200, 300 years. All of that goes into this debate that we're talking about now with 1619. It's all related. Everything about how wealth is passed down from one generation to the next. As we see in Tulsa, the line stopped right there. It stopped one day right there, and it ended. Their parents were not, those doctors, dentists, lawyers, they weren't able to pass down their wealth to the next generation. So every generation, you're starting off at zero. Every generation, you're starting back at zero.
Well, we're gonna wrap up really, really soon, but I wanted to just take a minute or two to pay tribute. We had a loss this week. We'll cue the music, but it was very, very painful. You know, when something only exists for 29 days, it's really, really hard to deal with. So sad. Just really getting to know what you're
come to
me
now.
And
Don't
to
be ashamed
try
to
something
cry.
and strike out,
And
and it's not your
Cause I've
first
seen the dark
it can be very,
side
very hard.
too. When the night falls on you,
You know, there's other folks
don't
that
know what to
work out when
do.
they try to do.
Nothing you confess
I think Michael Jordan with baseball.
could make me love you
I think
less.
Tim Tebow with baseball.
I'll stand by you.
Nate
I'll
Robinson.
stand by you. Won't let nobody
But
hurt
there's
you.
different men for everybody.
I'll stand by you.
So, Donald,
So
and from your guest,
if you're mad, get mad. Don't hold it all inside. Come on and talk to me now. Hey, what do you got to hide?
I don't get it.
I get angry too.
No, his ball. He had a ball.
You're standing at the crossroads. Don't know which path to choose. Let me come along. Even if you're wrong, I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you.
Everybody's a weird thing.
Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. Take me into your darkest hour, and I'll never desert you. I'll stand by you.
and he's still pumping out great music to this day. So I wanted to put
Do you think they should have had a song that said "You dropped the bomb on me"?
Actually, they said something about that, but it wasn't in relation to that. No, it says this wasn't the you dropped the bomb.
I know, but you know, like Jermaine said, context does matter.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that song was strictly about him just being used by a girl. That's all. And also burn rubber. You know, so I mean,
we always thought Brandy was about a girl too.
Yeah, I didn't know that thing was about a dog, bro.
Yeah.
When I heard it, I was like, that's about a dog. And I think not correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Sadie about a dog too?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think Sadie's about his mom.
Sadie's about his mom.
I want to say, y'all, man, let's please let's fact check that because I want.
Brandy's about the dog. Right?
Brandy's a dog.
Brandy's
when you listen
mom.
to Brandy with knowing it's a dog, it kind of makes sense.
Now it does.
You know, Sadie's talking about making breakfast in the morning. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother Brad. I appreciate that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, because I was like, wow, I did not know that. But
oh man. Well, listen. Like I said, we could do a 3-hour show on Tulsa and all the crazy stuff that happened in the past. What we really doing is just scratching the surface, just really talking about basically how, yes, things have been swept under the rug, but most importantly, we're robbing history from our kids.
Yeah.
These are things that they really need to know about so that they really understand the good and the ugly truths about our country. There's a lot of things to be proud of about America, but there's some things that really need to be exposed, have the light shine on, and not rob our kids of that history, afraid that it's going to make them hate themselves or hate their country or anything like that. What helps us all as a people is that when all of the facts are presented to us, and then we can sit there and be more empowered. Whatever happened to knowledge being power? Now, sometimes it's, you might know too damn much, or what facts don't really matter, you know, or a certain set of facts matter more than the entire picture. You know, when I sit there and put together a 500-piece puzzle, you know, I can't just sit there and say, well, there's 35 pieces I don't like, and think that if I put the other 465 pieces together, it's going to give me the full picture. I need those other pieces of that puzzle to give me the full picture. So instead of being afraid of the truth, look at it head on, grow from it, learn from it. So hopefully we don't repeat those things in the future. There's been another edition of Head to Head. Thank my panel, Lori Parker, Jermaine Parker, Brad Carlton, CJ Jones, and the awesome Michael Berry. We will see y'all next week. Take care, enjoy your weekend, and if you have not been vaccinated, wear a damn mask. See y'all later.
This a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.